So Margaret became interested in Thomas Paine at the age of 10 when she found a book he had written in the library at her elementary school. So a little bit younger than you guys. She credits her ability to question all things in life to Thomas Paine. His words inspired her to become an independent thinker. She's a person who appreciates the use of reason and critical thinking skills in order to solve problems that face humankind. In 1993, Margaret Downey founded the Thomas Paine Pennsylvania Memorial Committee. That committee was instrumental in establishing a Thomas Paine Day in the city of Philadelphia, the city of York, and the city of Lancaster. She's been conducting Thomas Paine Day assemblies since 1999. She helped create a 10-hour C-SPAN special about the life of Thomas Paine, which aired in 2001.
The fashion of the day involved a whole lot of clothing, and you can see that by the drawing and by all the clothing that I have on today. You know, ladies of leisure would use fans because they would take their time to do things, and women who worked hard wore aprons like the one I have on today. And I have both because I'm going to take a leisurely time to tell you about the life of Thomas Paine. Plus, I'm going to work real hard to answer all your questions. His family thought a child had to be very quiet and agreeable. His family also believed that singing and dancing were a sin. Thomas was very different from his family and from most of the people in the village. Thomas always asked a lot of questions. He loved to go outside, and he loved to dance, and one of his favorite activities was to sing with the birds in his garden. While walking through his garden one day, Thomas was inspired to write his first poem. You see, he found a dead crow laying on the gravel, which saddened him very much. Thomas was only 8 years old when he wrote his first poem. Is there someone here that is around that age that would like to pretend that they are the young Thomas Paine? Can you come up here? Now please understand that when Thomas Paine was growing up, there was no such thing as television, radio, or computer games. I'm just curious, what would you do with your time if you were living in colonial days? Kate? Draw, that would be one thing. Observing nature would be something else. Writing and singing. You know, when Thomas was a teenager, he was seeking adventure. One morning, he got up and he left a note for his parents. Then he traveled 30 miles to enlist on a pirate ship. The ship was named the Terrible. The commander of the ship's name was Captain Death. Just before the ship was set to sail, Thomas's father arrived. He convinced the young Thomas to stay at home, which was a very good thing because that same ship was caught in a storm and was completely destroyed. After a while, Thomas saw a big problem with his job as a tax collector. You see, none of the tax collectors actually made enough money to live on. So many of the tax collectors turned to theft and bribery. Thomas didn't want to do that. He wanted this to be an honest job. So he decided to go and talk to the King of England about his concerns. And of course, all the other tax collectors encouraged him to do the talking so that they wouldn't get in trouble. So Thomas Paine addressed the Parliament on behalf of the entire excisemen community. Therefore, he became the first spokesman for a union type of organization. The day that Thomas Paine spoke to the Parliament, a very famous American colonist heard him. Does anyone know who the picture is of this person? Ben Franklin, very good. You're right. And just before the start of the war, Thomas Paine wrote something called Common Sense. And in this pamphlet, he told the colonists why they had a duty to fight for independence. And you know what? I'm giving your school library a copy of a book by Thomas Paine. And I hope you will accept this, Diana, on behalf of the school. Traitor. But in the colonies, Thomas Paine was a hero. Thomas Paine joined the revolution by enlisting in the Continental Army. The Patriots' commander-in-chief wanted Thomas to continue writing because his words were inspirational to the troops. Thomas Paine could write very well. Thomas rode a horse every day, delivering important papers, money, and his own writings to the troops. His Revolutionary War writings were called the Crisis Papers. He wrote the papers on the top of a drop almost every night. His literary work was delivered as often as possible to General Washington out in the fields. Washington would read the papers to the troops to inspire and motivate the soldiers. So Thomas Jefferson and Thomas Paine were really good friends, and they did a lot of work together. They planned such things such as Social Security and the United Nations and the public school system. And they even developed foreign policy together. You know, Thomas Paine's framework that he developed with Jefferson is still used today in world peace negotiations. After Thomas Paine died, Mr. Cobbett realized that he had been wrong about Thomas Paine, and he felt terrible about the way he treated him. So poor Mr. Cobbett was so tortured that he would stand next to Thomas Paine's grave and just weep. And he would stand there for hours and hours and hours. Then one night, the town folk were completely shocked to find out that Mr. Cobbett had dug up Thomas Paine's body. Mr. Cobbett took the body of Thomas Paine to England, and he was claiming that he wanted to give Thomas Paine a proper funeral. He said that he wanted to build a fancy memorial for Thomas Paine and to honor Thomas Paine in England. But before any of that could be arranged, Mr. Cobbett died. And now, nobody knows what happened to Thomas Paine's body. I'm sorry, I didn't hear you, sweetie.
How old is Thomas Paine, like, when the police officers came to get up the king?
Oh, when the king sent his horsemen to capture him up the dock? Yeah, he was almost 45. He was, yeah. Do you know, Tom Paine didn't even come to the colonies till he was almost 40. So see, no matter how old you get, there's always a time that's waiting for you. You can always make something of yourself, even as you get older. If you have something important to say and something important to do, then you can do it at any age. What do I work for?
What's your job?
Oh, okay. Well, I am a social activist. I was so inspired by Thomas Paine that I decided to question authority and question things. And so every day I work very hard to answer social problems that affect every human being. And my job is to make sure that civil rights and separation of church and state and discrimination are ending. I fight very hard for civil rights for every person. And I believe that only humans can solve human problems. And that's what I do every day, is try to solve human problems. Thanks for asking.
You're welcome.
Okay. Thank you, everybody.